As far as U.S.-Austrian relations, why am I here? Our goal in the United States is to be seen in a new way. We are not interested in acting unilaterally on the problems that the world faces today. The problems are too great for that. We believe that if the European Union, for example, becomes stronger, and with this new Lisbon Treaty it may, that's a good thing, because we want strong partners to deal with global challenges. And so when we look around the world, we say, who can we partner with to address these challenges? We cannot do this on our own. And too often, if we do things on our own, we have a mindset that it makes it difficult, thank you so much, Carrie, to get the answers right. We want to make sure that we take into account perspectives that may be foreign to our perspectives. So we look to Europe to partner with us to address challenges such as climate change. And I would say climate change is one of the reasons I got involved. I was very unhappy with our previous posture, which I liken to sort of burying our head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. That's not going to work. The Obama administration is absolutely committed to action on climate change. We believe that nuclear proliferation is an issue that must be addressed multilaterally through multilateral organizations. So the president, as you know, gave a speech in Prague and is pushing forward on that initiative. But there are many initiatives: global poverty, pandemic disease, the issue of violent extremism, which can impact all of us and has. It impacted us, of course, on 9/11, but terrorists have struck in Europe in several places, and we don't believe this is appropriate. Now, we have a two-pronged approach. We think that these extremists should be isolated because they truly are and should be seen as outcasts within Islam. Everything that they stand for, everything that they do is practically forbidden in the Holy Quran, and yet they claim that they're doing it for Islam. Well, the Islamic world needs to stand up and say to them, no, this is not how Muslims behave. But the best way to make that happen is for us to be perceived as someone that listens on issues and works on issues without biases. So we're trying to push forward on Middle East peace. And we have the president assigned George Mitchell, who's a good friend of mine also, to work on the Middle East peace process. And, you know, we'll struggle, but we'll keep pushing forward until we achieve success. The president is committed. On each of these issues, though, we need partners. We need to look at Europe and see someone that is willing to partner with us to address these challenges. And that means the United States will no longer act unilaterally and must work in concert with its partners. Austria in particular, I think, is a country that shares our commitment to human rights, shares our commitment to the rule of law, international law, and you'll see, I think, a stronger commitment. The president has already announced that he wants to close Guantanamo, which is a blemish on our country's history, and we're grateful, frankly, that so many countries in Europe have stepped up and said, we'll help the president close Guantanamo by taking a couple of the detainees and providing them with a new life. If they are unable to return to their countries, find them another country. So that, you know, that's been very helpful. Obviously, climate change is an issue where we don't always see the answer the same way, but we are committed to progress in Copenhagen. We believe we will achieve some progress. We think it's too important to let this slip by, this opportunity. It's unfortunate that the timing of Copenhagen coming on so quickly has not given us time to pass comprehensive climate change legislation in the United States, but we will get there and we will get it passed. I'm quite confident that something's going to pass, and it may not be exactly what the president wants, it may not be what I would like to see, but it'll be a step forward, and we'll keep pushing it because it's important. And I think that we will hopefully learn the lessons in Copenhagen not to repeat what was ineffective about Kyoto, which is that we didn't have the whole world participating. The entire world needs to agree that to make progress on climate change. If Europe agrees and the United States agrees, but the developing world does not agree to take action on climate change, it won't do us any good. We have to have everyone on board. And so we're hoping that while the targets may be different for the developed world versus the developing world, everyone needs to agree this is a problem we need to address, and everyone will take their share of action. And we hope that'll happen. But what we've done unilaterally, what the President has already done, is in our stimulus package, the Department of Energy received $80 billion, which they're spending on clean energy technology, research and development, doling out grants, doling out loans to startup companies. There are 3 or 4 companies in the States that make completely electric cars that have received loan money to build their plants and get started from this fund. There are all kinds of new technologies we're trying to fund just to see what works. So it's doing 2 things. It's creating jobs. It's also, which is what we wanted to do with the stimulus, but it's also working on clean energy. We have higher efficiency standards for lighting and appliances. We raised fuel efficiency standards dramatically right away. It's very interesting that the difference. A year ago, under the Republican administration, we were able to negotiate very modest efficiency standards for automobiles increase. This year, we came in right away and said, we're going to do much higher efficiency standards, and frankly, my guess is over time they'll be raised again and again, because that's one way. As the auto industry catches on, we're making a shift in the United States towards hybrids and towards more electric vehicles. So we're trying to do our part, regardless of what Congress does. But I am confident Congress will act. And it's important. At the G20 summit in Pittsburgh this year, President Obama said and proposed, and other nations agreed, to, quote, phase out and rationalize inefficient fossil fuel subsidies while providing targeted support for the poorest, end quote. Which means we have to stop subsidizing oil and gas and coal and fossil fuel industries, which we do subsidize with our tax strategy in the United States. And we have to, and the lesser developed countries need to do the same. Countries like in the developing world, I won't name any in particular, but you know who they are. Many countries subsidize the price of gas and, you know, sell it for less than it costs to produce. Why? We're trying to get off of gas. As these economies develop, they could be developing with clean energy. And that's the direction that they should move. That's the direction we're moving. So it's important. And I hope we can talk about that some more. So we've already passed legislation in our House. The legislation in the Senate is in committee right now. The legislation is a little bit different, but in the House it would reduce our carbon emissions 17% by 2020 and 83% by 2050. In the Senate, it's a little bit more aggressive by 2020, but we'll see what comes out. And we think in the long run, where you end up by 2050 is what really counts. Because by 2050, we have to have the entire world transition to a clean energy economy. And, you know, we just have to go through it. And we have to get the global concentration down to a reasonable level that we can, as, you know, humans, survive on this planet.